Hello and welcome to ATG 4950. One of the most important concepts when designing and developing a product is the consideration of the impact of the product on the environment. The design engineer and the company must seek the environmental, technical, and safety requirements of the product. There are agencies and platforms that will assist in finding product regulations and standards. Now, if the company cannot perform themselves the product compliance, a consultant can be hired to complete compliance requirements. This session will define design, ethical, and environmental issues. In addition, it will address the importance of compliance of the designed product to national and international regulations and standards. Ethics, as defined by James Fazer, a professor of philosophy at the University of Tennessee at Martin, is moral philosophy that involves structuring, defining, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. Ethics put a huge responsibility on the shoulders of design engineers and operations managers' responsibility towards the society. When designing a product, the engineers should think at the effect of that product or the impact of that product on the environment for humans living in the future. The engineer should consider pollution, loss of wilderness, the degradation of ecosystems, and climate change. It will be a challenge to develop a safe quality product at the same time maintaining a clean environment and providing a safe workplace. Engineers and managers should honor community commitments. The ethics of an operations manager is very important to deliver healthy, safe, quality products and services. Operations managers that ignore work ethics will suffer the risk of injuries, lawsuits, recalls, and regulations. The wrong response to a problem might jeopardize the organization's reputation. To create a product design that is ethical and environmentally friendly, we need to ask the following questions. Is it possible to enhance productivity, to drive down costs, and to preserve resources? If we answered those questions through an ethical approach, then we need to view product design from a system perspective and consider the entire life cycle of the product. The goals for ethical and environmentally friendly designs are to develop safe and more environmentally sound products, to minimize waste of raw material and energy, to reduce environmental liabilities, to increase cost effectiveness of complying with environmental regulations, and be recognized as a good corporate citizen. Guidelines for environmentally friendly designs: to make products recyclable, to use recycled materials, to use less harmful ingredients, to use lighter components, to use less energy, and to use less material. Promoting green earth, lots of operations managers are promoting actually the environmentally friendly processes to reduce the negative impact on the nature. Managers and engineers should encourage recycling to reduce the waste of materials, which will increase the efficiency of resources or resource utilizations. Also, some managers are promoting the use of less harmful ingredients in new products to minimize the effect even after the disposal process. Now remember that we have to think, when you design the product, you have to think even in the disposal process, what will happen after the life cycle of the product ends and you need to dispose of that item. Can you make it of a material that you can recycle it, that is good for the environment? This is what you need to think of as a design engineer. Lots of administration promote energy saving or savings in general through the reduction of energy use in their organizations. So basically, if you can create a product that is energy saver, that will be also a good design for your product. The other thing that we need to do as design engineers is to look at regulations and standards. We need to look at product design that should be according to whatever published regulations in the federal, state, or city limit regulations and standards. Anything that the product in or you design, you need to look for compliance of that product for these regulations. Product compliance will be documented and provided as part of the deliverables when you finish the product. This is actually how you promote your product, that your product is quality ISO maybe 9000 certified, and it's environmentally friendly product. So how to determine product compliance? We can determine product compliance from a checklist. We look at the official websites that will be related to the product. We look at product compliance platforms that will assist in making sure that the product is compliant with the regulations and standards. We can look at product testing companies and let them do the testing for us if we cannot do the testing. We can look at or search for consultant who will compliance consultant who will come and do the compliance testing for us for the product or for the design. And we can also look at the website for the sellers that we are going to use to as an outlet to sell our product. And those sellers will give you requirements, whether there are requirements for the state, federal government, or even on the international or the global level. They will let you know what kind of requirements you need to do to sell your product on their website. Although requirements differ depending on the product and the country, a universal product compliance checklist should be used to assess which regulations and standards apply to your product through confirming mandatory regulations and directives such as the Consumer Product Safety Improvement Act, also confirming applicable product standards such as standards published by the American Society for Testing and Materials, ASTM, which includes standards related to product safety and security also. Then confirming applicable quality standards such as standards published by the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO. Confirming applicable labeling requirements such as requirements published by the CPSIA tracking label, and confirming applicable documentation certification or certification for requirements such as requirements published by Children Product Certificate, and confirming facility requirements such as requirements published by Good Manufacturing Practice, the GMP, and by also the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO. So it depends on your product and which area it's related to. You can look at those agencies and see if your product is compliant with the requirements of the material that you use, the design that you create, the functions that you have in your product, the different specifications that you need to add to your product. For example, if you are using something metal, you need to make sure that it's safe enough that it will not cut the sides, will not cut the customer. So you need to look at what are the requirements, what are the conditions that you need to do or you need to follow to make sure that it does not make any injuries or any harm to the consumer. If it's related to children, then you need to look at the children product certificate and see what kind of regulations they have to assist you in putting the boundaries on that product or that design. There is no official one-stop shop for product regulatory information in the United States. Therefore, manufacturers are required to search for information across various websites to get a complete picture. Your product has different functions and features for different things. Like I said, you are talking about the material that will be used and you need it to be recyclable, but at the same time this product is designed for kids, so you need to go to the children agency to make sure that it's compliance with the requirements of that agency. So some of the common agencies and organizations are the CPSC for products like toys and children products, consumer products and household products, the FCC, which is the communication, which is products for electronics, the FDA, which is the Food Administration, and that is for food contact materials, medical devices, and other related stuff. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and that's for labeling requirements. And you have the customs, the US Customs and Border Protection, which is usually used for general importing information. When I import something, then you need to know what are the conditions of importing something to the US. And then you have the American Society for Testing and Material, and this is not a governmental website, but an organization developing product standards to consumer products in the United States. While ASTM standards are normally voluntarily, they serve as a reference point for importers and manufacturers. So when you want to import something, it has to be compliant with the standards that the ASTM have in place. Some agencies might require compliance with the ASTM when you sell the product on their website. So if you are selling a product globally, other international agencies' rules and regulations also will be applied, will be added to the product. So if you are in the United States, maybe you have to, when you sell through a website, they will tell you that you have to be compliant with the ASTM. And if you go international, there are other laws and regulations that you need to follow. Companies can use online platforms to ensure the compliance of their product on an international or universal level. An example of an online platform is productip.com. You can search productip.com for thousands of products and get detailed requirements lists of standards and regulations, required product documentations, and required product even labeling, the labels that you need to use on your product. The productip.com is easy to use and affordable even for small business. It can provide requirements lists, technical life manager, compliance reviews, chemical management, and label checks. If a company cannot perform product testing, they can outsource this task to a product testing company. Testing company and price will vary by the product and by country. An example of some of the common testing companies: the Bureau Veritas, the SGS, the Intertech, TUV, and QIMA. Making a product compliant requires an understanding of technical safety requirements, how to create correct label files and documentations, and even production facility requirements. So you need to know how to be compliant with all these standards and regulations. Companies might seek support from a professional compliance consultant who has the experience and can connect the dots and identify regulations. A consultant can help the company confirm applicable product safety standards, create label files and documentation, perform technical design product compliance review, conduct a label test or a lab test, and complete a factory audit to confirm the compliance of the facility itself. If the company is planning to sell on a website, as we said before, they need to take a closer look at the standards and requirements of the website itself. So when you go to sell a product, there are some of the conditions or some of the limitations that they will have on the website itself. So you have to read and see what kind of requirements available for the product that you are going to sell. And based on that, they will have a list of mandatory regulations and rules that you have to provide for that market that is related to your product. So that will be all for this session, talking about the ethics, the regulations and standards that we need to worry about when designing a product. So this is part of what you are going to do. You have to search agencies and see if you can identify some of the regulations that will be related, or standards that will be related to your product. Again, that will be all for this session. Thank you and have a great day.